This evening, Clement Rohee, the new PPPC Gecom Commissioner. Lusignan road accident, pedestrian knocked over by bike and run over by a car. Ministry of Health working with PAHO to secure monkeypox vaccines. Internationally, protests in Kisumu as Ruto declared president-elect of Kenya. And Ukraine's grain ship on its way to Africa for millions facing famine. Welcome to another broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Update. I am Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. Former Minister of Home Affairs Clement Rohee was today sworn in as Commissioner of the Ghana Elections Commission. Rohee takes up the seat left by Bibi Shadiq, who passed away on Saturday. He took the oath of the Commissioner at the Office of the President before President Irfan Ali, shortly before the Elections Commission was set to meet for its weekly statutory meeting. President Irfan Ali, at the swearing-in ceremony, congratulated Mr. Rohee on his new role and his contributions to public life over the years. Rohee, the former government minister, said he hopes that he will be able to contribute to the professionalism of the Commission. He said part of that process would be to ensure the makeup of staff members at the Commission mirrors the makeup of Guyana. Also present at the swearing-in ceremony was the chair of Gecom, retired Justice Claudette Singh, members of the Commission, and several ministers of government. The Ghana Elections Commission will commence a claims and objections exercise on August 22, 2022. This exercise will be conducted at all the Gecom permanent registration offices in the 10 administrative regions. During the claims and objections period, any person who will be 18 years and older by October 31, 2022 and is a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent, or naturalization, or is a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more, can take a claim on or before September 11, 2022 to be included on the official list of electors, providing they had never previously registered. Persons desirous of making a claim to be included in the official list are required to visit the Gecom registration office in their area. Existing registrants are advised to check the preliminary list of electors posted to verify the accuracy of their registration information. In this regard, persons who are required to update their registration records, such as change or corrections to their names and occupation, or to apply for a transfer in relation to their address, are advised that those transactions would also be facilitated during this exercise. The relevant source documents, such as an original marriage certificate, deed poll with birth certificate, or a new birth certificate reflecting the changes, must be presented in the case of an application for a change or correction. The Commission is urging all eligible persons to ensure that they use this opportunity to be registered for inclusion in the revised list of the electors and ultimately the official list of electors to be eligible to vote. Persons are also encouraged to object to the inclusion of any names of persons whom they believe should not be on the list based on legal provisions. For more information and clarification, you can visit the Gecom's website or call the numbers on the screen. Police are investigating a fatal accident on the Lusignan public road where a pedestrian was hit by a motorcyclist and subsequently ran over by a car. Esther Sobers has that tragic story.
Police are investigating a fatal accident resulting in a pedestrian being hit by a motorcycle and then run over by a car on the Lusignan Public Road, East Coast, Narara on Monday, August 2022. The dead man has been identified as 53-year-old pedestrian Prahalad Sa of Lusignan, East Coast, Narara. Police reported that around 6:55 p.m. a motor car driven by 43-year-old Wavel Lamat of Better for Walking, East Coast, Narara, and a motorcycle driven by 31-year-old Leon Lewis of Annandale, East Coast, Narara, was proceeding east along the Lusignan public road. The motorcyclist alleged that he was behind an unknown minibus and suddenly saw a shadow appear from south to north across the road. When the bus passed, he saw a pedestrian in front of him crossing and was so close that he collided with the pedestrian, causing them to fall on the road surface, where they both received injuries on their bodies. The driver of the motor car told police that while proceeding at a normal rate of speed behind the motorcyclist, he saw someone motionless on the roadway. He pulled to avoid a collision. However, despite his effort, he ran over the person. He immediately stopped to investigate and discovered the man motionlessly. The rider picked up his motorcycle and left after that. He was taken to the Balwant Singh Hospital to receive medical attention after being discovered by the police. He has since been transferred to the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation in a serious but stable condition and is under police guard. Saw was officially pronounced dead on the scene. His body is at the Georgetown Hospital mortuary awaiting a postmortem examination. A notice of intended prosecution was served on the driver of the motor car. He remains in custody assisting with investigation. A breathalyzer test found no trace of alcohol in his breath. For Channel 2 Headline News, Esther Sobers.
Thanks, Esther. Stick around after the break. Ministry of Health working with PAHO to secure monkeypox vaccines, and man fatally stabbed in Perseverance, suspects surrenders.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Furnishing your home or office has never been easier. Here at Kisumu, our inventory of locally made and imported furniture, offered at amazing prices, will leave you wanting more. From vinyl, floor rugs and carpets, bedroom, dining and living room sets, mattresses, pillows, office desk, chairs and filing cabinets, outdoor benches and tables. We have a piece of furniture for every room imaginable in your home or office. Check out our flagship store at Industrial Site Rijnveld or one of our branches in New Amsterdam, Port Morant, Riverton and Camp Street. Kisumu Furniture, furnishing homes for over 50 years.
Sooner or later you will have another power failure. Are you prepared for the next blackout? Some essential equipment such as security cameras, lights, internet, gate motors, and water pumps may stop working. How can you prevent the next blackout? InverterTech has an affordable solution for you. A strong UPS system which uses the latest inverter and solar battery technology to prevent blackout. We smartly calculate your average power demand so you don't spend more than you need to. Call 223-2233 for more information.
When you need money and you gotta get it fast, Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop is the place for that confidential transaction in a quiet and secure location. You'll get the highest value per pennyweight for your gold and also enjoy the lowest interest rates and longest payback period too. Yes, for that instant transaction to solve a pressing financial problem. That Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, 46 Boyle Place, that's between the Ministry of Housing on Brickdam and White Castle Fish Shop. Be your first and only choice. Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, safe and sound, solid and secure, always there for you. Telephone 231-7878 and 223-8955.
Welcome back. The Ministry of Health is working with the Pan American Health Organization to secure vaccines for the monkeypox virus. While there has been no reported case of the virus in Guyana, the government has adopted this proactive measure as the number of cases is rising globally. Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony on Monday during his COVID-19 update noted that despite Guyana seeking a relatively small amount of vaccines, it is hard to come by, especially for small, less developed countries.
We have put in the order with PAHO. PAHO is in the process of negotiating to see whether they will be able to procure these vaccines. The amount of vaccines that we are looking for is relatively small, and therefore to source it directly would be challenging. And we also have to understand that there is a global shortage of these vaccines. There's one company in the world that is making them, and the developed countries have certainly bought up most of the current stock. And so that
Dr. Anthony explained that there are limited supplies, and through PAHO, the process could be easier as it will group countries and make representation to the manufacturer to be able to access the vaccines.
And while the supplies are limited, we see the cases are going up because you now have monkeypox in about 98 different countries, and it has surpassed more than 35,000 cases globally. The US having more than 10,000 cases, so it's challenging. And right next to us in Brazil, over the last 24 hours, you had 44 new cases. They have a case count so far of 2,893 cases. And they have another set of persons who they suspect to have monkeypox.
The health minister said the ministry would continue to monitor the situation.
We have trained our staff to do laboratory detection. We have had seminars with our doctors. We have sent out guidelines. We have developed guidelines. What constitutes a case, how to recognize a case, and so forth. That has gone out to our medical professionals. And so, we're in a state of preparedness. And if a case comes to Guyana, hopefully our physicians would be able to detect it, and we'll take the relevant series of steps.
A response team has been established to investigate suspicious cases and take the necessary precautions. A young man was fatally stabbed amid a dispute. Esther Sobers has more details.
Police are investigating the alleged fatal stabbing of 20-year-old Owen Young of Perseverance on the east bank of Demerara by two suspects at Sorrel Drive, Perseverance, East Bank, Demerara on August 13, 2022. Inquiries disclosed that on Sunday around 11 p.m., Young and both suspects became involved in a heated argument when one of the suspects dealt the deceased a stab to his right side neck, causing him to receive injuries and subsequently collapse. The body of Owen Young was escorted to the Diamond Diagnostic Center, where he was pronounced dead on arrival by a doctor on duty. The body was taken to the Moore Gardens Funeral Home awaiting a post-mortem examination. The suspects subsequently turned themselves into police in the presence of a lawyer on Sunday, August 14, 2022. They are in custody assisting with investigations. For Channel 2 Headline News, Esther Sobers.
Thanks, Esther. Don't go away after the break. Afghanistan economy. Taliban points to improvements since takeover, and protests in Kisumu as Ruto declared president-elect of Kenya.
When you need money and you gotta get it fast, Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop is the place for that confidential transaction in a quiet and secure location. You'll get the highest value per pennyweight for your gold, and also enjoy the lowest interest rates and longest payback period too. Yes, for that instant transaction to solve a pressing financial problem. That Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, 46 Boyle Place, that's between the Ministry of Housing on Brick Dam and White Castle Fish Shop. Be your first and only choice. Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, safe and sound, solid and secure, always there for you. Telephone 231-7878 and 223-8955.
Furnishing your home or office has never been easier. Here at Kisumu, our inventory of locally made and imported furniture, offered at amazing prices, will leave you wanting more. From vinyl, floor rugs and carpets, bedroom, dining and living room sets, mattresses, pillows, office desk, chairs and filing cabinets, outdoor benches and tables. We have a piece of furniture for every room imaginable in your home or office. Check out our flagship store at Industrial Site Rijnveld or one of our branches in New Amsterdam, Port Morant, Riverton and Camp Street. Kisumu Furniture, furnishing homes for over 50 years.
Sooner or later you will have another power failure. Are you prepared for the next blackout? Some essential equipment such as security cameras, lights, internet, gate motors, and water pumps may stop working. How can you prevent the next blackout? InverterTech has an affordable solution for you. A strong UPS system which uses the latest inverter and solar battery technology to prevent blackout. We smartly calculate your average power demand so you don't spend more than you need to. Call 223-2233 for more information.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny? I want money for borrow for do a surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lenders, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. Here now is the Sobers with today's regional and international news.
Good evening. Now we take a look at news around the world. This is the fifth election Raila Odinga has contested and lost. However, supporters of the former Prime Minister says the election was stolen from him and insists they will not accept William Ruto as their president. Al Jazeera Haru Mutasa has more.
As soon as William Ruto was declared president-elect, Raila Odinga supporters in a stronghold Kisumu reacted with anger. They believe this election was stolen. Police fired tear gas to disperse them.
We are not going to accept and move on until Raila is the president. Raila is the president of the Republic of Kenya. We cannot accept Ruto's president.
This was the fifth time veteran opposition leader Odinga has run for the top job and lost, even though this time he had the backing of outgoing leader Uhuru Kenyatta.
People here in Western Kenya say they've been marginalized for years. Since independence from Britain in 1963, Kenya has never had a president from this part of the country. They were hoping that that's going to change. That's why they supported Raila Odinga, who they say is one of them.
I want you to know.
On the campaign trail, Odinga promised to help Kenyans struggling against the rising cost of living, as well as tackling corruption and foreign debt. It was a tightly contested election, and some parts of the country are tense. With the Electoral Commission split and the results likely to be challenged in court, exactly what will happen next here among Odinga's supporters remains unclear. Haru Mutasa, Al Jazeera, Kisumu, Kenya.
A year after the Taliban took power, Afghanistan economy has all but collapsed. But the Taliban is pointing to improvements made under its watch. Al Jazeera Osama bin Javid reports.
The one business still booming in Afghanistan is transport, laden with exports, from fruits to minerals. Thousands of trucks can still make their way through the narrow passes and border crossings. Even this has slowed since the Taliban took over.
In previous years, we were transporting and going with our trucks 8 to 9 trips a month, but now we can only do once a month. There are no businessmen, so there's no one to hire us.
More Afghans are struggling to feed their families than ever before. After 4 decades, there is peace, but people are still waiting to benefit from it. The aid-reliant economy collapsed when funds were suspended and $9 billion of Afghan central bank's assets were frozen. The UN appealed for $4.4 billion in aid, but barely half of that has been pledged.
Hundreds of thousands of people have lost their jobs. An estimated 90% of this population lives below the poverty line. But Taliban leaders say they are going to resurrect the economy and are on target to make $2.5 billion this year.
Our budget annually...
The Ministry of Finance is challenging international organizations to audit its claims that the country is now corruption-free.
The budget and target is completely dependent on our own revenue resources. We have generated about $800 million from customs, $400 million from non-tax revenues, which mostly come from mines.
Mining is an important part of Afghanistan's economy, providing employment to an estimated 1 million people. That includes not just the miners themselves, but also traders, transporters and exporters.
There was always fighting. That's why there wasn't much consideration for mines. The Islamic Emirates started operations in the Mines Ministry, and in 1 year, we have realigned many pending projects. We will build a huge exchange for Afghan minerals in Kabul for local and international traders.
That and much else still depends on the Taliban being recognized as Afghanistan's legitimate government. Until then, more Afghans will have to buy stale bread from this market, where promises about the future still mean little. Sama bin Javed, Al Jazeera, Kabul.
And finally, a United Nations chartered ship loaded with grain has set sail from a Black Sea port in Ukraine, heading to Africa. It is the first shipment of its kind under the World Food Programme scheme to help countries facing famine. Al Jazeera's Gillian Wolf reports.
Fatuma Adan Crusoe and her 2 children are among 900,000 people displaced by drought in Somalia. She's carried her children for more than 300 kilometers to reach humanitarian aid provided by the UN.
When we finished our stock of food from the farm and animals started dying, we could not feed our children. We decided to flee because of hunger.
According to the United Nations, the Horn of Africa is suffering its longest drought in 4 decades. In Somalia, it says millions of people are facing famine and more than 3 million animals essential to farming communities have died. Crop production has also substantially dropped due to drought. The number of people now in need of urgent humanitarian assistance has increased from around 4 million at the start of the year to more than 7 million.
Our focus is very much on livelihoods. It's providing cash to allow people to buy food to survive. It's about keeping their animals alive with emergency feeding, with vet treatments, with water supplies for animals in a drought context, which is super important.
The brave commander is heading to Djibouti carrying 23,000 metric tons of wheat that will be transferred to Ethiopia, one of 5 countries the UN deems at risk of starvation.
This is the beginning, we hope, of more normal operations. The food of Ukraine fed 400 million people across the world last year. WFP purchased 880,000 metric tons, and we moved that food to Somalia, Yemen, Ethiopia, Sudan.
The mission comes after Russia and Ukraine agreed to a deal with Turkey last month to restart grain deliveries across the Black Sea. The UN ship is the first to set sail for Africa, carrying grain from Ukraine since Russia invaded the country, providing much-needed relief for those suffering from drought in the Horn of Africa. Gillian Wolf, Al Jazeera.
Thanks, Esther. That is it for today's regional and international news. Here now is your 3rd weather forecast. And that is all for this edition of Channel 2's Headline News Update. Tune in on Wednesday at 7 p.m. for another episode. Be sure to subscribe, like, and follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Until then, please take care of yourself and each other.